Hi guys, how's it going? How you doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today I am doing my next palette review in my palette roulette series, in which I choose a palette. It's in my collection, might also be in your collection. I utilize it throughout the week and then I come back to you. I show you some pictures of the looks I was able to create. I show you live swatches and we talk about my experiences with said palette. So I do hope that that sounds like something you're interested in, and if it does, I hope that you keep on watching. For those of you new here, hi, my name is Donna. I am a lover of all things high-end, colorful beauty and self-care. I also work in the beauty industry as a district leader for Ulta, so I get a lot of education in my position. I like to bring that education to you through things like reviews, but I also just kind of like to talk about makeup. So that's kind of what you're going to get here. I do hope that if you're here, you also like to talk about makeup and you find that this channel provides solace to your soul in the way it does mine. And I hope that you'll want to subscribe before you go. With that said, let's roll into this palette review. All right, I normally will tell you the palette that we're reviewing in my intro, and I kind of forgot today, but the one that we're reviewing is by KAB Cosmetics. It is actually something that came from a BoxyCharm box, not my own. My mother usually takes part in like BoxyCharm like intermittently, and when she does that, she's reminded that she doesn't wear makeup and doesn't really know why she's taking part in BoxyCharm, and I usually end up with all the makeup that she gets in her box. This palette was one of those things that she brought to me and was like, I'm never going to use this. Some of the items she keeps, but most of them she gives to me, especially as it pertains to makeup. So that is the palette that we are reviewing today. So this is what the palette looks like. It is just black cardboard packaging, and it is $52 for this palette on the KAB Cosmetics website. It does have 5 stars on the KAB Cosmetics website with 41 reviews. And then on the BoxyCharm website, it has a 4.3 star rating with over 17,000 reviews. And I do believe this launched in 2019. This is a company that is run by Kim, Ariana, and Brielle Bierman. Kim was a housewife on the Housewives of Georgia, something like that. I think it was the Housewives of Georgia. Like, I don't know. I don't watch TV very often. I certainly don't watch a lot of reality TV. So that is who Kim is. Ariana and Brielle are her 2 daughters. Born 5 years apart, but look like identical twins if you ask me. Only because I looked up who these people were. I'll put a picture in here of them. That is who these people are. I'll get into more of like the company aspect of it in a little bit. The back of it just has some information about the palette. It has like the ingredients, talc being the #1 ingredient. So if that is something that you are sensitive to, this would not be a palette for you. I do have a little bit of a sensitivity to talc. I have noticed that these do drive my eyes a little bit more bonkers than some of the other shadows in my collection. There were some eye looks that I did with this that I couldn't get a picture of because my eyes started watering almost immediately after putting the shadows on my eyes. Today I'm doing better than I have in the past several days, but the inside of the palette does have a mirror, and this is what it looks like. It reminds me of the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. I think in the intro of this palette, on the last, like, I don't know, 5 minutes of my last palette roulette video, I said it reminded me of Rose Gold Remastered. I was absolutely not thinking of the right palette. It kind of reminds me of the Desert Dusk, but not like exact dupe. It is definitely not anything like the Desert Dusk palette in formulation. So there's that. I would definitely pull for my Huda Beauty palette prior to pulling for this. And if that gives you a sneak peek into what the end of this video looks like, then there you go. Take it as you will. This does have 0.76 ounces of product in it, which means it has 0.04 ounces per pan, which is a decent size pan. That is pretty standard for most palettes. However, as I said, this is a $52 palette. It is cruelty free. It has a 12-month shelf life. I would assume you could probably get more of a shelf life out of it because typically powders aren't necessarily 100% true to the shelf life that they've been given. This does have 18 shadows in it. They are quote unquote highly pigmented shadows, and they supposedly, according to the website, are packed with light shadows for day and bold, darker shadows for night. So when you're looking at the palette, these ones would be considered the dark, bolder shadows, and these ones would be considered the light day look shadows. There are 8 mattes and 10 shimmers in this, which I think is a good like mix of shadows. So it's almost 50-50, not quite, but almost 50-50, which is something I prefer in my palettes. And they are pretty. It's a pretty palette. You open it up and you're like, oh, that's really pretty. I could do something with this. These are not as pigmented as they appear in the pan. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna throw a picture up here. This is a picture straight up off the KAB Cosmetics website. That purple on this beautiful woman of color's eyes is not the purple that is in this palette. As a matter of fact, that purple in this palette, to prove a point, I put into my eye look today, and it is up here in the eye look, and I have pictures of this eye look close up too, but I can get a little bit closer in my editing. That is that purple, and that is 3 layers of that purple on a very light neutral skin tone. So the purple on this lady's eyes is not the purple in this palette. I'm just telling you. I don't know what purple it is, but it's not this purple. They aren't as pigmented as they look. I even have the dark brown in my eye look on the outer V portion of the eye look, and I have this color and this color packed in above that lends to that orange color in the eye look. I think that they are mildly pigmented, and I think that they can be built up to be more pigmented. They do blend very nicely and they do build very nicely, but I think that you're still not gonna get what is the intensity that is in the pan on your eyes. It takes so much building to get the color that you want, or the color as it appears in the palette. Case in point, the purple in my eye look. Like I said, this is 3 layers on a light, medium, neutral skin tone. And this is, I just did this. This has maybe been on my eyes for 2 hours at this point, I would say. So it's not like it's had time to fade off. This is it. This is it, folks. The mattes in this palette perform really well. Like I said, they're very good at blending. They do blend very, very well. They also feel super silky in the pan, and they also build very well. The shimmers also build very well. They mesh well, they marry well. I think that they do a good job. I don't think that there's any voiding that happens when you're trying to create an overall eye look in these shadows, which I appreciate. And there is just a slight bit of fallout with these shadows, which I also appreciate. There is a lot of movement and powder in the pans, but there's not a lot of it that transpires on your face as you're applying the makeup or throughout the day. I do think that there is a slight bit more amount of fallout with the shimmers, but I think that that happens with a lot of the brands, to be honest. So you're gonna get about a 6-hour wear time out of this prior to significant fading. I definitely think that the shimmers in this palette are the showstoppers of this palette, because they really are pretty, and they're pretty pigmented for what they are. But I also will tell you that I'm having a bit more irritation in my eyes than I am typically used to with these kind of colors. So just some other information about this brand. Number one, they don't have any description of the colors, the color story, the shades, what they are, how they made them on their website. The packaging of it comes very reminiscent of what the packaging of the palette is, except for the palette does not say day and night on it anywhere except for the back, and this says it on the front of it. It's, you know, just plain black packaging, plain black cardboard component. As I said, this is a brand that is ran by Kim, Ariana, and Brielle Bierman, and they are mother and daughters from one of the Housewives series out there. And it is considered, in their opinion, according to the website, a luxury brand, which is why the palette costs $52. There are 0 returns, 0 cancellations, and they will replace an item if it is damaged in shipping, as long as you notify them within 10 days of the receipt of the product. They'll ship you out a replacement. Now, it does say on their website, this palette is only sold by KAB Cosmetics. Don't buy it from another place. But the exact palette is also sold at walmart.com. Only it has white packaging, and this KAB Cosmetics across it is in like this hollow foil. But the inside of it looks completely the same. And on Walmart, it is $20. So some scandal on this. This palette is also sold, according to the interwebs. I was not able to find it, but there are so many things on this website that I was like, how would one ever find this? But then I got into a rabbit hole and started digging and found out that it is true. There's actually importing receipts online for this. So this is a Dirty Little Secret company, which is, Dirty Little Secret is a company that is based on and built for subscription boxes. And what they have done is created all these different companies for subscription boxes, and they house them under the Dirty Little Secrets Cosmetics company brand name. All these little entities are buying their products according to everything that I read. And granted, one of those sources was Reddit, but I did some digging based on Reddit. All of these companies are buying their stuff from AliExpress, which is crazy sauce, right? It's more than just black labeled items. This is cheaply made formulas selling on AliExpress for like $1 to $3 to $5 a piece. And then the companies are getting them, putting their own label on it and selling it for like 8 times the amount of money, $52. I can tell you, I have a lot of high-end luxury eyeshadow. I think of Natasha Denona midi size palettes that cost $65, so just like $13 more than this palette. I would never in a billion years, not knowing the price of this, and I didn't know the price of this when I first started using it, ever in a billion years think that this is a $52 formulation. Not one time. It's also for sale on BoxyCharm for $54. So how are we for sale at Walmart for $20, $21, whatever, for sale on the KAB Cosmetics website for $52, and for sale on the BoxyCharm website for $54. Like, I just don't get it. I just don't understand. Like, I'm not all about the scandal of an item. Like, I sure believe that there are some black label, stuff out there that maybe doesn't deserve the price that they're charging. I 100% do not believe that this is worth the $52 that they're charging. I 100% believe that it is pretty, but it is just an okay palette. It doesn't do well on a dry eye. You have to have a primed eye. The shimmers work best wet or applied with the finger, which is notable across many other brands. But this is what you're getting even with wet, and I just don't think that it's 100% great. The purple in my eye look, like I said, is not a great purple. This is definitely not the color that is on my eyes. I had already had it in my mind that this was just an okay palette. I had already had it on my mind that this was probably not going to stay in my collection because, as I said, it reminds me a lot of Desert Dusk, and Desert Dusk is a much better formula. Even the purple in Desert Dusk, as much as I hate that purple, works better than this purple. So I'd already had it in my mind that this palette was leaving my collection, but I thought that you all should know also, if this is a palette that's in your collection, think twice about it. It does irritate my eyes quite a bit more than these colors typically do, and I don't know if you've smelled yours lately, but I had kind of a moment when I was in a hotel room slapping this onto my eyes that this kind of stinks. It kind of smells weird, almost like chemically weird, but not like straight up chemicals, if that makes any sense. So do you have this palette out there? What are your thoughts on this palette, and whether or not it is an AliExpress palette or not? I don't know that it makes any difference to me, because I do have some really, you know, expensive and really inexpensive formulas in my collection. So a $3 formula for an eyeshadow, or $1, or whatever the cost of this was, doesn't make a difference to me. What does make a difference to me is that it reminds me of a palette I already have in my collection and love. So I will definitely be pulling for that one first. And it smells, and it causes so much irritation on my eyes that I know that there's just something milling around in this palette that I don't want on my eyeballs. My eyes are typically very, very sensitive, so sometimes they're gonna water like crazy, but typically it's with colors that are more outstanding than this. It's with pressed pigments like blues and bright, bright pinks and bright, bright greens, right? Those are the ones that typically irritate my eyes. There is a picture of me wearing this shadow right here, this like kind of gray, like taupey color all over my lid. And you can see where it is on one lid, on just portions of the lid, because my eye is watering so bad immediately after putting the shadow on my lid that it has taken off all the rest of the eyeshadow. My eyeshadow looked like shit that day within seconds of putting it on my face. So I don't need this palette in my life, and I will be getting rid of it. I do think it's a pretty palette, but I also just think it's an okay palette, in my opinion. So I thought that you guys should know the scandal. Again, as I said, one of my sources for this scandal is Reddit, but I did do some digging based on some of the other fact-finding like stuff that they had in this feed on Reddit. Like, they have a picture of the invoices that say that KAB Cosmetics is part of the DLS companies, and the DLS companies are all selling stuff from AliExpress. One of the most notable that you might remember is, I think it was called Fascia, Faccica, Basica. I don't know. One of the most notable DLS companies is that one, and it was because they sent out a 24 karat moisturizer or eye cream of some sort. I mean, it was a big, huge BoxyCharm blurb, like last year, maybe the year before. I think it was last year though. And they were selling a product with identical ingredients, identical components, identical name almost, as one that you found on AliExpress. And now listen, like I said, I could not find this palette on AliExpress, but there's so much on AliExpress. So if you guys know anything about it, please let us know. I just think it's weird that it also has like a brand owner, but that maybe doesn't mean anything. So there's that. One thing I want to also make mention of is that I feel like these are really hard pressed in there. You just really have to dig in, especially with the shimmer shadows. You really have to dig into I mean, I think that you can see that a lot of the shimmer shadows are just really tore apart, because you really have to dig in to get anything to appear on your face. So first shadow is this one, and this is called Halo, and it is that purple that supposedly is bright and brilliant and bold in the eye look that I showed you on one of the models on their website. This is like a really, really pale pastel lavender. Then we have this one here, which is called Twinkle Twinkle, and it is a really pretty like silvery pink shimmer. Then we have this one called Terracotta, and it is what it is. It's a terracotta pinky brown. Then we have Dusk, which is also a shimmer. It is kind of a coppery orange shimmer. Then we have this one, which is called Burgundy, and it is a burgundy shimmer. Then we have this one, which is called Cocoa, and it is a deep brown. This is the deepest one in the palette. It kind of can lean warmer in a warm eye look, and it also leans a little bit cooler in a cooler toned eye look. So with that said, I do think it's very versatile as far as brown goes. Second row, we have this one, which is called Sunset. This is what is on my lid space today, and it is a really pretty, almost like duochromy. It was a surprising shadow for me. It's kind of pinky peachy duochromy. Can you even see it? I am looking at the monitor going, I don't think they can see that. All right, this one is a matte, and it is burnt orange. Then we have this one, which is called Dawn, and it is a little bit more of a like creamy pink. I like to describe it as. I really liked this shadow. It was one of my favorites in the palette to use, actually. And then we have Luna, which is a shimmer rose goldy color. And then we have Moon Dust, which is a nice, almost also a duochrome, kind of pinky lavender shimmer. And then we have Midnight, which is also a shimmer, and it is kind of a deeper, like grapey, grape Kool-Aid shimmer. This one is called Naked, and it is just a peachy beige. And then we have this one, which is called Creamy or Georgia Peach, and it is a really orange sherbet kind of shade. Then we have this one. Sorry, I'm the world's worst swatcher. This one is called Golden Hour, and it is a bronzy gold. Then we have a almost red bronze, and I'm sorry, that is called Stella. Then we have this one called Sand. It is a really like taupey brown. And then we have this one called Starlight, and it is a taupey shimmer. So those are the shades in this palette, and like I said, I mean, you can't even see this one here. There isn't anything about this color story that makes me believe I would pull for this any more than I would pull for another palette in my collection. I also know that the struggle is real to get the pigmentation that you want out of these shadows in this palette. You guys can see the shimmers in this palette are where it's at. Like the pigmentation in the shimmers is where it's at. So if you're going to do an all shimmer eye look, sure. But if you want any mattes in your eye look with these shimmers, you're going to have to pull from another palette, because this palette it just isn't going to do it for you. These also came off no problem. So there's no staining that occurs with these. So typically when a eyeshadow is a pigment, it irritates my eyes. There is going to be staining on my skin as well. There just isn't staining on, I don't know. It's just an okay palette. I mean, that's really all I have to say about it. It isn't a palette that I think is absolutely, I absolutely do not think that this palette is worth $52. I would say that Walmart has the right price point on it. $20.53, $21, $23 with tax and shipping is probably primo price point. This is definitely not a luxury brand. Now, that pains me to say, because I actually have a lip oil by them that I actually really quite like. But finding out what I found out about this, it makes me wonder if that lip oil should ever go back on my lips. I'm just being honest here. Like, what do you guys know about makeup from AliExpress? Because I don't know. There's apparently a lot being sold out of BoxyCharm and IPSY that comes from a DLS company. A lot. One is the blush highlight quasi combo that I'm wearing today. So obviously I like it. So, and I like that lip oil. So obviously it doesn't matter to me, but I will tell you, this isn't staying in my collection. It's not staying in my collection for many reasons, and none of those are because it's an AliExpress company. They are because it irritates my eyes. I have a palette that's very similar that I like more, that I will pull for more. And I have to work too hard to get the eye look that I want from it. And I have zero time in my day to screw around, taking 12 hours to get, or 2 hours to get just a real simple eye look. This took me 2 hours to do this morning, and part of that is because I was trying to build up this stupid purple to see if I could get it the same color of purple that was on that beautiful model. And you can't, you just can't. So with that said, I am gonna go pull my next palette. I will be right back. Okay, something I was gonna do last week but didn't do because I was like, I should use this KAB Cosmetics palette. Was this. I am going to bring in 2 palettes this week, actually. I'm going to bring in the Estate Beauty collaboration with Bailey Sarian, the Venice Fling. This has been in my collection for quite some time. I did get this in an IPSY, and I quite love it. I think it is beautiful, but I haven't used it. And then also this Space Case, which I think I also got from IPSY, and I have used one of these shades, but I haven't used all of these shades, and these are just really beautiful shimmers that I think will pair nicely with the colors in this palette. So this is all shimmers, and this does have shimmers in it, which is fine. I want to barrel through these, and there's only between them, there's only 13 shadows, so I think I can do that. And those will be the palettes that I come back and talk to you about next week. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. What do you think about this palette? Like I said earlier, do you have this palette? Do you love this palette? I would love to hear your thoughts on this palette. Do you have these palettes? And if so, I would also love to hear your thoughts on these palettes. With that said, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I do hope that you enjoyed the video, and I hope that if you did, you're considering giving it a big thumbs up. I hope that you found that you loved my channel so much that you want to subscribe and become part of our crazy awesome YouTube fam here. And if you do, please let me know down in the comment section you've done that. I would love to welcome you personally. I also hope that you hit the notification bell so that you're notified. I do upload content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I wouldn't want you to miss anything. I hope that you and yours are doing well. I hope that this month is treating you all kindly. I hope that you are all healthy and staying safe and loving each other, but loving each other from afar. And until next time, bye friends.